There's something satisfying about watching a villain win. It's not supposed to be that way. We're supposed to cheer for the hero. And yet every now and then, a character steps into the spotlight, does something terrible, and instead of hating them, we lean in. That feeling, when the audience starts to sympathize with the devil, is one of the most powerful and complicated experiences in storytelling. So why does it happen? Why do we, people who presumably believe in kindness and morality, sometimes end up rooting for the person who does the opposite? We sympathize with villains when they reflect parts of ourselves. Everyone has been jealous, angry, selfish, or vengeful at some point. Villains act on those feelings in ways we usually don't or can't. So when we see a villain getting revenge, taking power, or finally saying the thing that no one else wants to say, can feel satisfying. A good villain, the kind who earns our sympathy, is never just evil for the sake of being evil. They're layered. They might have a tragic backstory, a twisted worldview that kind of makes sense, or a deep wound that explains their behavior. And when we see that side of them, it blurs the line between good and bad. We realize that maybe, under the right circumstances, we could have ended up like them. And that's where the sympathy kicks in. These aren't just villains doing bad things. They're people shaped by pain and rejection and trauma. We might not agree with what they do, but we get why they do it. That understanding builds empathy, and empathy leads to sympathy. This phenomenon says a lot about us as people. It shows that we're wired to look for reasons behind the behavior. And when we can trace someone's actions back to suffering or injustice, we instinctively start to see them not just as a villain. It doesn't make their actions okay, but it does make them human. Of course, there's a danger to too much sympathy. If we go too far, we might start to excuse harmful behavior just because we like the character. It's important to make the distinction that understanding someone is not the same as agreeing with them. There's also something that just feels good about rooting for the villain. Stories often have clear rules about who deserves to win, but when we root for the wrong person, we're breaking those rules, and that can feel liberating. It's like saying, I know what you want me to feel, but I don't. I'm going in a different direction. And sometimes, let's be honest, the villain is just cooler. They get the best lines, the best backstories, and they usually have the strongest presence. But this isn't just about entertainment. There are deeper implications. When we start to sympathize with villains, it forces us to reflect on justice, punishment, and forgiveness. Should someone's past trauma excuse their behavior? How much weight do we give to intention versus outcome? And at what point do we stop forgiving and start condemning? These are interesting questions, and stories that make us feel for the bad guy are one way to explore those questions. In the end, sympathy for the devil isn't about celebrating evil, it's about understanding it. It's about realizing that villains are often just people trying to make sense of a broken world. And when we can see even a little bit of ourselves in them, it reminds us that good and evil aren't always as far apart as we'd like to believe. And if someone can fall so far from grace, maybe they can also climb back up. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.